Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we'll continue reading from introduction of Bhagavad Gita. Would somebody like to read?
Okay, I can start.
Okay.
Oh, or Yogita, same thing.
Anyone?
As my maid has come, so I'm little busy with her for 10 minutes. So you start, I will do it.
Okay, okay. Sorry, my thing is. Okay, so Vedic knowledge, we have to start from there, right?
We finished off saying that one should accept things only for his quota, no? And so then
Yeah.
there are many examples how we are, isn't it here? There are
Yeah,
many
yeah.
examples.
So we start from I think we are starting from the
There are many
Vedic knowledge.
examples given how we are to utilize
Okay, there are
those.
many examples. Okay,
Mm.
so
Mm.
I start from there. There are
Yeah.
many examples given of how we are to utilize those things which are set aside for us by the Lord. This is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. In the beginning, Arjuna decided that he should not fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. This was his own decision. Arjuna told the Lord that it was not possible for him to enjoy the kingdom after killing his own kinsmen. The decision was based on the body because he was thinking that the body was himself and that his bodily relations or expansions were his brothers, nephews, brother in law, grandfather, and so on. Therefore, he wanted to satisfy his bodily demands. Bhagavad Gita was spoken by the Lord just to change this view. And at the end, Arjuna decides to fight under the directions of the Lord when he says, Karitya Vakam Tava, I shall act according to your word.
So what happens is Arjuna tells Krishna, I'm not gonna fight. And he gives various reasons to Arjuna that I'll get sinful reaction, family tradition will be broken. And then he says, how will I enjoy the kingdom? Who will I enjoy it with? Everyone will be dead. Yeah, we will be the kings, but there won't be any. So everything Arjuna was thinking based on the body. That that gave the opening for Lord Krishna to speak the Bhagavad Gita. And after Arjuna hears the instructions, he says, I shall act according to your word. And Krishna, I will do whatever you want me to do. That is the point of surrender. That is where Krishna wants us to be. Krishna says in 1866, Sarva Dharma Parityagya, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. So here, when we can come to this point that Krishna, I will act according to your pleasure, then that is bhakti. So we continue reading.
Okay, I'll continue. In this world, men are not meant for quarreling like cats and dogs. Men must be intelligent to realize the importance of human life and refuse to act like ordinary animals. A human being should realize the aim of his life, and this direction is given in all Vedic literatures, and the essence is given in Bhagavad Gita. Vedic literature is meant for human beings, not for animals. Animals can kill other living animals, and there is no question of sin on their part. But if a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste, he must be responsible for breaking the laws of nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly explained that there are three kinds of activities according to the different modes of nature: the activities of goodness, of passion, and ignorance. Similarly, there are three kinds of eatables also: eatables in goodness, passion, and ignorance. All of this is clearly described, and if we properly utilize the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, then our whole life will become purified, and ultimately we will be able to reach a destination which is beyond this material sky. Yadya gatva na nirvantante tad dhamma paramam mama.
So Krishna, what is the goal of human life? We make so many goals that, oh, I have this weekly goal, I have this daily goal, I have a health goal, I have a financial goal, I have a personal goal. But what is actually the goal of human life?
To reach the God, Supreme Lord.
Yeah, yeah. Lord Chaitanya teaches us Prema Pumartho Mahan, to revive our love for Krishna. Prema Pumartho Mahan. That is the goal, to get to be situated in our loving relationship with Krishna. And we are completely forgotten this, and we are just um keeping ourselves busy with our material goals, but not caring what life will we get in the next, what body will we get in the next life. Because if we get an animal body in the next life, we surely cannot hear the message of Bhagavad Gita, of Srimad Bhagavatam. We surely won't be able to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Then Krishna speaks about also the three modes of nature. We think we are independent in this material world. I can do whatever I like, whenever I like. Nobody's to tell me anything. But we don't realize that we are completely under the control of the three modes of nature. What are the three modes of nature?
Goodness, passion, and ignorance.
Yeah. So they really control us to all our degree. Whatever we eat is also controlled by these modes. What we do is controlled. How we speak is controlled by these modes. We don't realize it. Krishna gives very detailed information towards the later chapters. How does one act in goodness, passion, ignorance, or how does he eat, or what charity does he do? All this. So at least we should come to the point of goodness, Prabhupada would say, so that we can transcend. The idea is not only to stay in the goodness, but gradually, at least we come to goodness so we can transcend and come to pure goodness that is above this three modes. Pure goodness is spiritual, not the material goodness. Because goodness is also in the material platform. It still binds us. Oh, I'm so good. I'm so pure. I'm doing things so correctly. I'm doing my duties perfectly as I'm supposed to do. So that also binds us, the goodness, where we have to come above it. And so then the destination that we need to go to, Sanatan, eternal spiritual sky, Golok Vrindavan.
The destination is called the Sanatana sky, the eternal spiritual sky. In this material world, we find that everything is temporary. It comes into being, stays for some time, produces some byproducts, dwindles, and then vanishes. That is the law of the material world. Whether we use as an example this body or a piece of fruit or anything. But beyond this temporary world, there is another world of which we have the information. That world consists of another nature which is called Sanatana, eternal. Jiva is also described as Sanatana, eternal, and the Lord is also described as Sanatana. In the 11th chapter, we have an intimate relation with the Lord, and because we all are qualitatively one, the Sanatana Dharma or sky, the Sanatana Supreme Personality, and the Sanatana living entities. The whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to revive our Sanatana occupation or Sanatana Dharma, which is the eternal occupation of the living entity. We are temporarily engaged in different activities, but all of these activities can be purified when we give up all these temporary activities and take up the activities which are prescribed by the Supreme Lord. That is called a pure life.
So we are eternal souls. Because we are part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is eternal, we are also eternal. The Vaikuntha world, where Krishna lives, is also eternal. Where the spirit souls live, there, that's also eternal. It's only in this material world that we see something as a manufacture date, expiry date, birth date, death date. And between the birth and the death date, we'll grow, you know, then we'll probably have some byproducts, means some children or something. Then again, we start becoming old, dwindling, and death. That is material world. That's just the nature of how it is. But the spiritual body, no. The spiritual world, no. It stays ever fresh, ever fresh. There's no deterioration. There is no dwindling. There's no vanishing. Everything is fresh in the spiritual world. Now, what is our Sanatan Dharma? Yeah, we are reading. The whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to revive our Sanatan occupation or Sanatan Dharma, eternal occupation of the living entity. We may think, oh, but my occupation, oh, I'm a banker, uh, I'm a teacher, I'm a doctor. That is my occupation. No, but what is the occupation of the soul? Eternal occupation. Because if we say, oh, my occupation is, well, I'm a housewife, or my occupation is I'm a teacher, or I'm a engineer, but then that occupation is because we are in this body. What happens after we leave this body? But Sanatan means eternal. So, what is the eternal occupation for every living entity? Whether they are in the spiritual world, whether they are in the material world, we are going to hear about that. And that is
Supreme
what we need to do. Take up the
is
Sanatan Dharma.
your life. The Supreme Lord and
You're reading, Auntie? Auntie Rashmi, आप पढ़ रहे हो, is it?
no, Shilpa, sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay, so then anyone wants to read, or Neetu can continue?
Yeah, okay, I'll continue.
Okay.
The Supreme Lord and his transcendental abode are both Sanatana, as are the living entities, and the combined association of the Supreme Lord and the living entities in the Sanatana abode is the perfection of human life. The Lord is very kind to the living entities because they are his sons. Lord Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita, Sarve Yonesu Aham Bija Pradaha Pita. I am the father of all. Of course, there are all types of living entities according to their various karmas. But here, the Lord claims that He is the father of all of them. Therefore, the Lord descends to reclaim all of these fallen, conditioned souls to call them back to the Sanatana eternal sky so that the Sanatana living entities may regain their eternal Sanatana positions in eternal association with the Lord. The Lord comes himself in different incarnation, or he sends his confidential servant as sons of his associates or acharyas to reclaim the conditioned souls.
So now, why does the Lord send here? Come? Why does he come to this material world time and time again? And why does he send his pure devotees, his confidential servants? Why does he do that?
So all the souls who have fallen to get them back, conditioned souls.
Yeah, yeah, he comes, he performs beautiful pastimes to attract our hearts. And then when we get attracted, then we get inquisitive. Oh, let me also try to find out more. Then he comes to give the message of Bhagavad Gita. He sends his confidential devotees, his confidential servants to teach us the message of Bhagavad Gita, so that we'll understand, oh, this is not my permanent position. My permanent home is is the spiritual world. I have a relationship with the Supreme Lord, so I should go back there. That's the reason he comes and he sends his devotees. And then does it mean that Krishna is only the father of the human beings? Aham bija pradapita. Does it mean that he says Sarva Yonishu Aham bija pradapita? So is it that he's father only of human beings?
No,
No, of all the living entities.
all the living
No matter they may be living entities in bodies of fish or birds or whatever form they may be. So then we continue reading.
Therefore,
Sanat-
okay, yeah, please read. Please read, Yogita.
Therefore, Sanatana Dharma does not refer to any sectarian process of religion. It is the eternal function of the eternal living entities in relationship with the eternal Supreme Lord. Sanatana Dharma refers, as stated previously, to the eternal occupation of the living entity. Sripad Ramanujacharya has explained the word Sanatan as that which was neither beginning nor end. So when we speak of Sanatan Dharma, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sripad Ramanujacharya that it has neither beginning nor end.
So what is Sanatan Dharma? Not sectarian process of religion. So means it's not Hindu, Muslim, Christianity. No, no. This is eternal function of the eternal living entity in relation with the Supreme Lord. The Lord is eternal, the living entity is eternal, and the living entity has an eternal function. He's always doing something. That is Sanatana Dharma. And Ramanujacharya, he is the Acharya of the Sri Sampradaya. And he has said, eternal means, Sanatana means what? No beginning, no end, means it always exists. Always it exists, never ends. If we say, oh, my dharma is Hinduism, but then what will happen in my next life if I'm in another body, not in the body of a human being? And what happens to that? Means it's not eternal then. There's a break. So we read on.
The English word religion is a little different from Sanatan Dharma. Religion conveys the idea of faith, and faith may change. One may have faith in a particular process and he may change this faith and adopt another. But Sanatan Dharma refers to that activity which cannot be changed. For instance, liquidity cannot be taken from water, nor can heat be taken from the fire. Similarly, the eternal function of the eternal living entity cannot be taken from the living entity. Sanatana Dharma is eternally associated with the living entity. When we speak of Sanatana Dharma, therefore, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sripad Ramanujacharya that it has neither beginning nor end. That which has neither end or nor beginning must not be sectarian, for it cannot be limited by any boundaries. Those belonging to some sectarian faith will wrongly consider that Sanatan Dharma is also sectarian. But if we go deeply into the matter and consider it in the light of modern science, it is possible for us to see that Sanatan Dharma is the business of all the people of the world, nay, of all living entities of the universe.
So Prabhupada is helping us explain. We say religion, there are so many different religions, but that religion does not refer to Sanatan Dharma. Why? Because religion means a faith. No, I have faith in this particular path, but we may change. Sometimes we see people convert. They're Hindus, they may become Christians, or then they may take up the Islamic faith. So it's changing. But so this is not eternal then, isn't it? Faith can change. Our faith sometimes we have in something and other times we have in another. But what is the example Prabhupada is giving us to explain? Something that does not change.
The light cannot be taken from the fire. and the water is liquid, and we cannot take out liquidity, the watery
Yeah.
thing from water. Yeah, the
Yeah.
feel of water we cannot take out from that, and the heat of the fire we cannot take out from that.
Yeah.
That's the example.
That's right. Thank you. Let's continue reading.
Now, upon the religious faith, we have come to the of human history, but there is no difference to the of Sanatan Dharma because it remains eternally with the living entities. Insofar as the living entity are concerned, the authoritative Shastras state that the living entity has neither birth nor death. In the Gita, it is stated that the living entity is never born and he never dies. He is eternal and indestructible, and he continues to live after the destruction of his temporary material body. In reference to the concept of Sanatan Dharma, we must try to understand the concept of religion from the Sanskrit root meaning of the word. Dharma refers to that which is constantly existing with the particular object. We conclude that there is heat and light along with the fire. Without heat and light, there is no meaning of the word fire. Similarly, we must discover the essential part of the living being, that part which is his constant companion. That constant companion is his eternal quality, and that eternal quality is his eternal religion.
Yeah. So then, faith, Prabhupada is again saying, faith has some beginning and it may have some end. If we are speaking about some particular faith, oh, it started at this time, and then we may, as we say, we may keep changing our faith. But what about the living entity? Are we eternal or what happens? We, the living entity, are we eternal or are we temporary?
Yeah, we are an eternal. The soul is eternal. The
Yeah, the
body is
soul is,
temporary, but the soul is eternal.
Yes.
that's right. So if the soul is eternal, means the soul has a particular dharma. That's what is right. Prabhupada is writing. Dharma refers to that which is constantly existing with a particular object. As you just said, no, heat and light with fire, liquidity with water. So what is it that is always there with the living entity? That is the Sanatan Dharma. Uh, Dharma does not mean to a particular type of religion or particular type of faith. It is something which is constantly existing. So then, let's read further.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you say Sanatan Dharma, so like it's a faith. Sanatan Dharma, it cannot change. Sanatan, which doesn't change and it's eternal, right? And
Yeah, so
faith
Sanatan
keeps on
Dharma,
changing.
sorry,
So
Sanatan Dharma is not a faith. No, faith
no,
can
yeah,
change.
yeah, yeah. Sanatan is eternal, which is and
Yeah,
faith keeps on changing, right? So these are
that's it.
separate things, right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
as we say, when faith currently, even in Hinduism, I would say, and even in ISKCON, we follow some rituals. So that is also some. It also belongs to faith, or what we can call it Sanatan Dharma, or we will call it faith or beliefs. What do you say? Like devotional service and all these things.
So now we are coming to what is actually Sanatan Dharma. We are going
Yeah.
to find out now.
Okay.
The Sanatan Dharma of every living entity is that to serve, like sugar, is always sweet. Can sugar become non-sweet at any time?
No.
But what is the dharma of the salt? It's always salty. Can't take away salt from the saltiness from the salt. So the dharma of salt is always to be salty. The dharma of chili is always to be, the hot, spicy. So what is the Sanatan Dharma of every living entity? We are hearing now in this next paragraph. It will help you explain. Because the Sanatan Dharma of every living entity is to serve. Serve.
Okay. So
So devotional
Then
service is Sanatan Dharma. It's not a particular faith or a belief. No, that's the eternal occupation of every living entity.
okay, so it's not a faith.
No,
Devotional
it is
service
the,
is not, it's not faith or belief that we usually people like we say that we believe in some god, we have faith in him,
yeah,
right?
but our beliefs can change. Our belief, at one moment, we may have belief in a particular personality, and in another, we may change our belief, and our faith may change too. And our faith and our belief has no influence to the truth.
Okay,
We
so
believe,
yeah, Sanatan Dharma is to serve, right? So there are some people who are just doing social services and like they're social workers and they're also serving humanity. So does that
yes.
also mean they are also following Sanatan Dharma?
So the idea to understand is the dharma is to serve, right? Now, what is the correct way to serve? That is something we need to understand. Who
Okay,
should we serve? Because
who
the
should?
dharma is to serve. We are serving. We don't realize why do we say the dharma of a living entity is to serve? It's because we can see what we are doing the whole day. Yeah, we are serving our parents, we are serving our children, we are serving our teachers, or we are serving our bosses, or we are serving the society, or serving the country or community.
Mhm.
Each of us is serving. What are we doing the whole day? Or if we don't have anyone else to serve, we might get a pet, and then we are serving the pet. We are serving a friend. If we analyze what is our activity actually,
Mhm.
does
Okay,
that make sense?
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
when Sanatan Goswami asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the Swarup of every living being, the Lord replied that the Swarupa or constitution position of the living being is the rendering of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we analyze this statement of Lord Chaitanya, we can easily see that every living being is constantly engaged in rendering service to another living being. A living being serves other living beings in various capacities. By doing so, the living entity enjoys life. The lower animals serve human beings as servants serve their master. A serves B master, B serves C master, and C serves D master, and so on. Under these circumstances, we can see that one friend serves another friend. The mother serves the son. The wife serves the husband. The husband serves the wife, and so on. If we go on searching in the spirit, it will ban service the wife. Sorry, it will be seen that there is no acceptance in the society of living beings to the activity of service. The politician presents his manifesto for the public to convince them to his capacity for the service. The voters therefore give the politicians their valuable votes, thinking that he will render valuable service to society. The shopkeeper serves the customer and the artisan serves the capitalist. The capitalist serves the family and the family serves the state in the terms of the eternal capacity of the eternal living being. In this way, we can see that no living being is exempt from rendering service to other living beings. And therefore, we can safely conclude that service is the constant companion of the living being and that the rendering of the service is the eternal religion of the living being. Yet man
Does that,
process
sorry, one moment. Shinam, does that become a bit more clearer?
Yes,
Yeah. So
better
yeah,
now.
and
And yeah.
Yeah, and Lord Chaitanya here, the very first line Prabhupada says, when Sanatan Goswami asked Lord Chaitanya, who am I? Lord Chaitanya says, Jivera Swarubhai Krishnera Nityadas. Jivera Swarubhai Krishnera Nityadas here. Swarup, the eternal uh, position, the constitutional position of every living entity is that to serve the Supreme Lord Krishna, to serve Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the eternal position of every living entity. Yeah, and then Prabhupada practically shows us how we can analyze that we are actually serving. Even the politicians are serving the country, that's the reason they're chosen. One may say, I'm the president, the most powerful person in this country. But yes, but he's supposed to, that means he has to serve all the citizens. In fact, more. The more position we have, the more we need to serve. Then we continue reading.
Yet man professes to belong to a particular type of faith with the reference to particular time and circumstances, and thus claims to be a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or the adherent of any other sect. Such designations are non-Sanatan Dharma. A Hindu may change his faith to become a Muslim, or a Muslim may change his faith to become a Hindu, or a Christian may change his faith, and so on. But in all circumstances, the change of religion's faith does not affect the eternal occupation of rendering service to others. The Hindu, Muslim, or Christian in all circumstances is a servant of someone. Thus, to profess a particular type of faith is not to profess one's Sanatan Dharma. The rendering of service is Sanatan Dharma.
So Prabhupada is very clearly explaining us. We are keeping on changing our faith. It's not eternal. It's till the time we are in the body. In the next body, we may be born in a different family with a different faith. Or even in this body, we may keep changing our faith. Then how does it become eternal? Means it's not eternal at all. The eternal, what stays with us is that we're always serving, no matter which faith we follow, what position of society we are in, whatever we are doing, we are always serving.
Actually, we are related to the Supreme Lord in service. The Supreme Lord is the supreme enjoyer, and we living entities are his servitors. We are created for his enjoyment, and if we participate in that eternal enjoyment with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we become happy. We cannot become happy otherwise. It is not possible to be happy independently, just as no one part of the body can be happy without cooperating with the stomach. It is not possible for the living entity to be happy without rendering transcendental loving service unto the Supreme Lord. In the
So,
Bhagavad Gita,
yeah, Prabhupada's words, I'm sorry, Prabhupada's choice of words, is very particular. We can say factually. So, the truth of the matter is, the fact is that we are related to the Supreme Lord in service. Right now, we are completely forgotten. We are in the material world because we are like, oh, why should I serve Krishna? Let me serve my own self. I want to serve my senses. Why should I serve anyone? I want to be the enjoyer. Here we are trying to hear that Krishna created us for his enjoyment. And we are like, why? Why should I be the one who's enjoyed? Oh, that is exploitation, that's manipulation, without understanding what it is, actually. A father, he has children. So they can have a loving relationship. The father enjoys with the child enjoys with the father. It's a loving relationship. The father is in fact serving the child, maintains the child, makes money for him, cleans him, everything. Huh? But there is this love, it's based on love, this relationship. And so there is enjoyment together. This is our relationship with Krishna. But we are like, no, what does it mean? Why should I work for Krishna's enjoyment? I want to enjoy myself. When we say that, that is material life, and that's the reason we are here in this material world. But the fact of the matter is that we can be happy only when we again revive our loving relationship with Krishna. It's only then that we can truly be happy. Whether we accept it or no, whether we believe it in it or no, whether we do it or no. But the fact can never be changed. As belief can be changed, as faith can be changed, the truth can never be changed. So, without rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord, one cannot be happy.
In
Are
the
there any
Bhagavad
questions or
Gita,
comments on that? No? Yes. Okay, then let's read further.
in the Bhagavad Gita, worship of different demigods or rendering service to them is not approved. It is stated in the 20th verse. Kamais tais tairharata jnanaha prapadyante anya devataha tam tam nyanam ashthaya prakate niyata swayah. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires and surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Here it is plainly said that those who are directed by lust worship the demigods and not the Supreme Lord Krishna. When we mention the name Krishna, we do not refer to any sectarian name. Krishna means the highest pleasure, and it is confirmed that the Supreme Lord is the reservoir or storehouse of all pleasures. We are all hankering after pleasure. Anandmayo Abhishyat. Vedant Sutra. The living entity, like the Lord, are full of consciousness and they are after happiness. The Lord is perpetually happy, and if the living entities associate with the Lord, cooperate with Him, and take part in His association, then they will also become happy.
So here, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling us that don't worship the demigods. Why? Because then we'll just still stay in the material world. Usually we are worshipping the demigods because we want to get some material benefit. And even if we get the material benefit, what happens is that we can enjoy that benefit only for a certain time. It it's not going to be eternal. There's an expiry date to it. Even if we go up to the planet of the demigods and live with them, those planets are also not eternal. So means whatever effort and endeavor we did to worship the demigods, that is temporary then. It's just going to be staying for a very short time. Whereas Krishna is telling us, come back home, come back to the eternal world, where everything is permanent, eternal, and completely happy. It's not that if we go up to the planet of the demigods, we are not going to die. There is death over there too. We have to change our bodies there too. Yeah. And then Prabhupada is explaining that the name Krishna is not sectarian, not sectarian. He is the storehouse of all pleasure. He's the reservoir of all pleasure. So it's like this. When we are thirsty, then when we go to the fountain, water fountain to drink water, our thirst is quenched. So if we are seeking happiness, then we need to come to Krishna to be able to fulfill that need of happiness. And being happy is a need of the soul. It's not that, oh, we should be suffering, we should be sulking. No, it's the need of the soul to be happy. Why? Because Krishna is always happy, and the soul is a part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is Sat Chit Ananda, eternal bliss, and full of eternal bliss and knowledge. And the soul is also like that. Satchidananda. Anandamayobhyasa. Vedanta Sutra is saying, we are Anandamayobhyasa. We are full of happiness. So then, how can we be happy?
The Lord descends to this mortal world to show His pastimes in Vrindavana, which
Sorry,
are
sorry,
full of happiness.
sorry. I'm sorry, I was just asking. But then, how can we be happy? How can we be happy? It's here, Prabhupada says, putting here in
By
this.
associating with the Lord
Yes,
and take part
associating.
in the association.
Yeah, yes. By associating, only when we are again connecting with Krishna, then we can be happy. And that can be done through devotional service. And devotional service begins by hearing and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Then this we can be eternally happy, not happy only for short time. Okay. I'm sorry, Yogita, kindly continue now. Sorry, I just wanted to say that point.
The Lord descends to this material world to show his pastime in Vrindavan, which are full of happiness. When Lord Sri Krishna was in Vrindavan, his activities with his cowherd friends, boyfriends, with his damsel friends, with the other inhabitants of Vrindavan, and with the cows were all full of happiness. The total population of Vrindavan knew nothing but Krishna. But Lord Krishna even discouraged his father Nanda Maharaj from worshipping the demigod Indra because he wanted to establish the fact that the people need not worship any demigod. They only worship the Supreme Lord because their ultimate goal is to return to his abode.
Now, again, ultimate goal. What is our goal? Here, Prabhupada is putting our goal is to go back home, back to Godhead. If we worship the demigods, we will go to the planet of the demigods. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, whoever we worship, we are going to go there. If we worship the ancestors, we are going to go to live with the ancestors. We worship demigods, we are going to go to the planet of the demigods. If we worship ghosts and spirits, we are going to take birth among such beings. Then he says, if we worship him, for sure we will go and live with him in his eternal abode. So Krishna wants us to come back home. He wants us to come back. That's the reason he came personally as himself. And again, he came as Lord Chaitanya, and he keeps sending so many of his pure devotees to keep telling us, hey, wake up, This is not your permanent home. Come back home to Golok Vrindavan. So,
Yeah. The abode of Lord Sri Krishna is described in Bhagavad Gita 15 chapter 6 verse. Na tad bhashyate te suryo na sashanko na pavakah yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. That supreme abode of mine is not illuminated by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world.
now this is what Krishna is giving a guarantee. We may say, oh, if I reach up to the demigod's planet, I have to return back because those demigod planets are also in the material world. The heaven, Swargalok, is also in the material world. Chandralok, Suryalok, all these are within the material world. Even Brahmalok is within the material world. Even if we reach up to Lord Brahma's planet, we're still in the material world. But Krishna is saying those who reach my Vaikuntha planets never come back, never come back to this material world. Who comes to my supreme abode, Golok Vrindavan, they're never gonna come back here.
This verse gives a description of that eternal sky. Of course, we have a material conception of the sky and we think of it in relationship to the sun, moon, stars, and so on. But in this verse, the Lord states that in this eternal sky, there is no need for the sun nor for the moon, nor electricity or fire of any kind, because the spiritual sky is already illuminated by Brahma Jyotir, the rays emanating from the Supreme Lord. We are trying with difficulty to reach other planets, but it is not difficult to understand the abode of the Supreme Lord. This abode is referred to as Goloka. In the Brahma Samhita, it is beautifully described. Goloka eve niveshyati akhilatma bhutah. The Lord resides eternally in his abode Golaka, yet he can be approached from this world. And to this end, the Lord comes to manifest his real form, Satchit Anand Vigraha. When he manifests this form, there is no need for our imagining what he looks like. To discourage such imaginative speculation, he descends and exhibits himself as he is, as Sham Sundara. Unfortunately, the less intelligent deride him because he comes as one of us and plays with us as a human being. But because of this, we should not consider the Lord one of us. It is by his omnipotency that he presents himself in his real form before us and display his pastimes, which are replicas of those pastimes we found in his abode.
So here, Prabhupada is explaining to us that we just read here earlier, Krishna saying, my abode, you don't need sun and moon there. No fire, no electricity. Why?
Because the light is coming from Lord himself only.
Yeah, the Brahma Jyoti is there. The Brahma Jyoti is coming from the body of Krishna. And so here we need it, the sun, we need the sun, the moon, the fire. Otherwise, it's very dark. If we go really in the night where there are no lights, no street lights, no nothing, really, it's very dark. So we need the sun here. So in the spiritual world, there's no need of the sun and moon, but they are there for the sake of pastimes. Sometimes we'll see, oh, Krishna is doing Ras Leela in the autumn moon night. No? So then, but so for the sake of pastimes, to make the pastime look more beautiful. So Krishna is eternally there in Golok Vrindavan. How can we go there? We can engage in devotional service, which begins by hearing and chanting. Now, Krishna's form is real form, Satchit Ananda Vigraha. This is Krishna's form when he comes. When he came 5,000 years ago, that's his real form. He came himself, just so that we do not keep on speculating, guessing. Oh, maybe Krishna looks like this, maybe God looks like this, maybe God looks like that. Just to, so that, because we have very good imaginations, we can imagine anything. But to stop all that imagination, speculation, he says, this is how I look. And these are my activities. This is how I look. But what happens is, because he's coming in this form and he looks apparently like a human being, we say, oh, he's just an ordinary human being. We are not able to understand his position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Vachananti Mam Muda, that when I come in this human form, fools deride me. Because we are foolish. We are not able to understand. Hey, this is the Supreme Lord. Although he has two hands, two legs, two eyes, same like me. We think, oh, he's same like me, two eyes, two hands. But maybe he did something, some activities which are a little extraordinary. Maybe he has some mystic power or something. No, no. Krishna's position is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's coming to show us what he's really doing in the spiritual world, how he looks, and who his associates are. That's the reason he came. We simply have to receive it. We simply have to accept, hear about him, and not speculate our own ideas.
In the effulgent ray of the spiritual sky, there is innumerable planets floating. The Brahma Jyotir emanates from the supreme abode, Krishna Loka, and the Anandmaya Chinmaya planets, which are not material, float in those rays. The Lord says, "Na tad bhashyati suryo na shashanko na pravaka yad gata na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama." One who can approach that spiritual sky is not required to descend again to the material sky. In the material sky, even if we approach the highest planet, Brahmaloka, what to speak of the moon, we will find the same condition of life, namely birth, death, disease, and old age. No planet in the material universe is free from these four principles of material existence.
So here, again, Krishna is saying uh, that one who comes to this spiritual sky, the Vaikuntha Lok, no need to come back to this material world. The sufferings of the material world are birth, death, old age, and disease. Even if we go up to Brahmalok, which is the highest planet in this universe, is still going to be subject to birth, death, old age, and disease, and can't stay on that planet permanently. After the karma is finished to stay, then depends where our karma takes us to the next body. Can become an animal. Well, depends where we are in our cycle of karma. But Krishna says you come to the spiritual world, never you need to come back to the material world again.
The living entities are traveling from one planet to another, but it is not that we can go to any planet we like merely by a mechanical arrangement. If we desire to go to other planets, there is a process for going there. This is also mentioned yanti deva vrata devam pitram yanti pitra vrataha. No mechanical arrangements is necessary if we want interplanetary travel. The Gita instructs Yanti Deva Vratah Devan. The moon, the sun, and the higher planets are called Swargaloka. There are three different stages of planets: higher, middle, and lower planetary system. The eternal belongs to the middle planetary system. Bhagavad Gita
Yeah.
informs us how to travel to the higher planetary system, Devaloka, with a very simple formula, Yanti Devavrata Devam. One need only worship the particular demigod of the particular planet, and in that way go to the moon, the sun, or any of the higher planetary system.
So how does Bhagavad Gita say if we want to go to the sun or moon, how shall we go?
By worshipping demigods.
Yeah, that particular demigod, whichever we want to go to, we can go. Just worship that demigod and we can go there. But are we encouraged to do that?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. This is what now we're going to read in the next time.
Oh.
And why we are not encouraged to do that, Sheena?
Uh, we are not encouraged to worship demigods because we want to reach the abode of Krishna, right? Because we don't want to come back to this material world again.
Yes. So
Yeah.
right, thank you. So all the blessings or all the benedictions that the demigods give us is also temporary. It's only for a certain time and keeps us here in the material world. Their planets are also in the material world, so that's also subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. So there's suffering there also. Yeah. And our goal, Prema Pumartha Mahan, revive our love for Krishna, go back home, back to Godhead. Yes, thank you so much. Maybe we can read one more, this last paragraph.
Yet Bhagavad Gita does not advise us to go to any of the planets in this material world, because even if we go to Brahmaloka, the highest planet, through some sort of mechanical contrivance, by maybe traveling for 40,000 years, and who would live that long? And we will still find the material inconveniences of birth, death, disease, and old age. But one who wants to approach the supreme planet, Krishna Loka, or any other within the spiritual sky will not meet with these material inconveniences. Amongst all the planets on the spiritual sky, there is one supreme planet called Goloka Vrndavan, the original planet in the abode of the original personality of Goddess Sri Krishna. All of this information is given in Bhagavad Gita, and we are given through its instructions, information, how to leave this material world and begin a truly blissful life in the spiritual sky.
Hmm. So which is the highest planet and like
Goloka Vrndavan.
yeah, that's right. Thank you. That's where Krishna personally lives. And we can go there. Yeah. Did anyone want to add anything or share anything?
Shilpa, I want to ask one question.
Yes.
When in before we read that Krishna encouraged his father Nand Maharaj from worshipping the demigod Indra by not worshipping Indra and worship Govardhan mountain. But this is also the same thing, no? When we are worshipping in Lord Indra for the rain, and when we are worshipping this Govardhan Parvat, because Krishna says Govardhan Parvat is giving grass to the cows, and cows gives us the milk, and so on. So it's the same, no? When we are worshipping Indra for rain, isn't it the same thing? But
So then,
Indra
but we
was
have
in,
to, yeah, very good question. Very good question. But what we have to understand is Govardhan is Krishna himself,
yeah. But how
So
people know?
that's
How do that
that's
people know
huh?
that Govardhan is Krishna
I'm
himself?
sorry. I'm sorry.
How does, how does Nand Maharaj find that Govardhan is Krishna himself?
See, Nanda Maharaj, he's just following what Krishna is telling him to do. Krishna is saying
Yeah.
do like this, so he is doing like this. That's the perfect way. Arjuna also, Krishna is telling him, you fight? Okay, Krishna, I will fight. Because Krishna is never going to tell us don't do any to do anything which is bad for us. So complete faith in Krishna's words.
Okay.
Complete faith.
So yeah, we
Complete.
Indians know that. Yeah, yeah, I can understand. But we Indians, we can accept Krishna as supreme. But the new one, the person who never knows, who never heard about Krishna anything, and when he reads in the beginning introduction only that Krishna says not to worship Lord Indra for the rains and worship Govardhan Parvat for these things. So how to explain the new one, new person who is the new to Bhagavad Gita? How to explain that person?
Well, Krishna himself, Govardhan is Krishna himself. And we have to
Yeah.
understand Krishna is not that he is the father of only Indian people and that he is the
Yeah.
Paramatma in the heart only of Indians. No, no,
Mm.
Krishna is in the heart of all, whether they may be Spanish or American, you
Mm.
know. And we are all eternal, have a relationship with Krishna. So wherever we are in our cycle of evolution of our cycle of faith, if it's
Mhm.
if we are really seeking for the knowledge, we will accept it. That's how why Prabhupada, when Prabhupada was here, he started the movement. They were all Americans who became devotees first.
Yeah.
So it's not that Krishna is only the god of Hindus, and so that's why Hindus are going to worship him. No, no,
No,
no.
no, I'm not
Krishna.
saying that. No. It's like we Indians know that yes, Krishna is the supreme, and we have to worship
Then
Krishna.
you will be surprised that even in China, but because in fact, sometimes it gets so difficult to preach to Indians because we Indians have so much of our
Yeah.
pre-notions. We have so
Yes.
much, oh, yes, yes, I know more than you. So in fact,
Yeah.
sometimes it gets more difficult to preach to
Yeah.
Indians. And sometimes it's very easy to preach to others because they are waiting to hear this knowledge. So it just depends. We speak this knowledge which is there. Whoever accepts it.
No,
That's
I
it.
was asking that if a newcomer, and if I say someone that Krishna is the supreme, and he says that don't worship the demigod, worship this Govardhan Parvat, then they might ask no that how you are saying that don't worship demigods and worship Govardhan. So I have to explain them that Govardhan is Krishna himself. That I have to tell.
Yes,
That,
yes,
yeah, Govardhan is Krishna himself,
yeah.
and
That's what we said, that
don't.
Govardhan is Krishna himself, because when they offered all the food, then Krishna himself came as Govardhan to accept all the offerings.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
So Govardhan is non-different than Krishna. He's Krishna
Mhm.
himself. That's the
Yeah.
reason Govardhan is also worship, no? The Govardhan
Mm.
Shilas are worship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it is
Krishna
because
is.
of Indra was very puffed up of his strength. That's why Krishna said this thing that stop worshipping Indra because he is puffed up with ego and
Yeah,
pride. That is
yeah,
why
Krishna wanted to. Krishna, yeah, wanted to break the. There are a couple of reasons. Whenever Krishna's pastimes happen, he wanted to break Indra's pride. He wanted to say, don't worship demigods. Also, what
Yeah,
happened when this pastime happened, all the Brajbasis got an opportunity to be with Krishna 7 days and
yeah,
7 nights.
yeah.
So a couple of things happened with that pastime.
Mm-hmm.
It shows the supermost position of Krishna that, because sometimes people may say, oh, Indra is the king of heaven, so Indra is more powerful. But also it shows by this pastime that no, it's Krishna actually who is the Supreme Lord.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Thank you.
many things we can see with this pastime.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.